Yeah, we shouldn't laugh about that. The time is 4:30 p.m. The Pelican Rapids City Council meeting of 31 May 2022 is called to order. I'd ask of those in our council chambers, if you have not signed in on the clipboard by the back door, if you would do so before you leave the meeting this evening. And also, everyone, please put on vibrate. Roll call of members. Danielle?
Councilmember Steve Strand.
Here.
Councilmember Ken Ballard. Councilmember Kurt Markgraf.
Here.
Councilmember Steve Foster.
Here.
And Mayor Brent Frazier.
Here. I want to welcome each and every one of you in our council chambers this evening, also those joining us by Zoom. And remember, our council meetings are shown on Channel 14 on Wednesday evenings. I just have two announcements for the next couple of weeks. Tuesday, June 14th is Flag Day, so fly your American flag. And also Tuesday, June 14th, 4:30 p.m. is our next city council meeting here at the council chambers. Any other announcements? Any other announcements? Hearing none, if we please stand for the pledge of allegiance. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Item number 2 is citizens' comments. Anyone here to speak on citizens' comments? Yes.
Yep, I am here. You're getting used to hearing from me.
If you'd introduce yourself.
Okay. How do you do this thing? Just pull down. There we go. I'm Joyce Burnham, co-president of the Pelican Rapids, Friends of the Pelican Rapids Public Library. And I'm here to share a quick update with you on behalf of the Local Foods, Local Places Steering Committee. And this is what Emily Reno wants you to know. As you know from a previous meeting, we have been working hard to identify and apply for funding resources that would allow us to conduct a feasibility study for a community center/commercial kitchen that would be available as a multi-use space. Last week, we submitted 3 funding applications and invited one of the consultants that we've identified based out of Alexandria to our steering committee meeting to learn more about the project and sign the contract. As you know, the senior center is one of the buildings under construction of up to 3 sites within city limits that would serve this purpose. We also would like to share that the consultants, the Dalside Group, will begin working with us this week and will be coming to town on Wednesdays from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. They will be working from the public library so that they have a central place to engage with the public through the end of June. The Dalside Group will be preparing information that is grant ready. That is, they'll tailor the content to make it easier to submit for the USDA Rural Development's Community Facilities Grant and their value-added grant. We invite you all, as City Council members and the public, to please stop by the library and engage with the consultants, because it will only be successful with your input. Lastly, we just wanted to express our gratitude for the city's support in this work, and we are very excited to get started with this feasibility study. And I did hand out to you earlier the schedule put together by the Dalside Group, Schedule A. And it goes week by week on what they expect to be accomplishing. So we get this done in a timely manner so we all know where we might end up. Okay? Thank you very much.
Thank you. Anyone else in the audience for citizens' comments? Seeing none. Item number 3 is additions, deletions to the agenda. I have one addition. Item number 19, which is entitled Project 93 Pay Request Number 1. Item number 19 is entitled Project 93 Pay Request Number 1. Any other additions or deletions? Move the agenda with the addition.
second.
We have a motion second. Discussion? 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 Hearing none, all in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same. Motion carried. Thank you. Item number 4 is approval of consent agenda, which I'll read. Item 4A, approval of council minutes from May 10th, 2022. Item number 4B is approval of accounts payable listing. 4C is staff reports, and that is item number 1, utilities report, which is in our packet. Item 4D, certified property taxes, property 34 Northwest 3rd Avenue for water and sewer, the amount of $126.98. Item number 4E is club on sale liquor license and Sunday on sale to Donna Mandarin on behalf of Gilmore Wheat Post number 5252. Item 4F is on sale intoxicating liquor license and Sunday on sale to Laura Escobar for propriety for Trinidad Escobar. Item 4G is malt liquor and wine with strong beer to Sherland King as proprietor for Muddy Moose Company. And item number 4H is malt liquor license to Charles Stevenson, proprietor for Southtown C-Store. Luke Lorzell is proprietor for Paul's of Pelican, Inc. Is there a motion to approve?
I'll move the consent agenda. Second.
Motion second, discussion, discussion, discussion. Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same. Motion carried. We'll move down to item number 6. Pool personnel. Superintendent Brian Olson is here with us this evening. Brian?
Moving right along. Yeah, so since the last time I was here, told you I was struggling to find lifeguards. Well, I have about 3.5 with the pool manager. I've got 3 lifeguards with the pool manager is willing to guard when she needs to. So if I could hire these 4, that would be great. They are Aliyah Al-Jahiri is the pool manager, and she'll be coming in at $17.26. Lifeguards are Riley Paulson, Sophie Paulson, and Callie Hansen so far, and they are at $11.96.
I'll move that we approve those hires. Is there a second? Motion second. Discussion. All these worked for us last year? Then?
Yes. Yep.
Okay, so they're familiar with the
Yep.
process.
Yep. The manager worked with us last year, but she knows how to move it. So.
Any more discussion? Discussion. Open.
Once you approve, yes, but once you approve, I'll explain what I'm looking at. So.
Is that the same manager?
No, this is a new manager. New manager. She will also do WSI, swimming lessons. So.
So they're certified? All the.
Yep.
I've been studying this plan,
Okay.
Any more discussion? Yeah.
So I've been looking at wages and requirements in the area, and we're too low on the pay. That's my view. And is that the problem? We're not finding people?
The ones that were here last year all have just found different jobs and have chose not to be a lifeguard. I don't know. Local restaurants start at $14 to $17 an hour, and they're still hurting for help also. So yes, it'd always be more appealing to pay more, but
It's a big deal, Brian, it really is.
I understand.
We're starting on this so late. Training, I'm told, is February, March, right?
For what?
Train for certification.
I could bring somebody in usually in the first week of June and have all of the lifeguards that don't have certification certified.
So what happened this year?
Didn't have any applications until recently. We've advertised in the press, we've advertised social media, we've put it everywhere we always do, including at the high school. I brought material up to the high school and didn't get it. So I'd like to tell you I had 15 lifeguards, but I don't. These are what I have. And I don't know by
Be a way to fix it. I'm just,
I wish there was. But I don't, I mean, if you know, if you can assist, I would,
started really studying it.
yeah.
Because it comes up so late, right? It just, so is it full now, or what are we doing?
We will start, yeah, I need to get approved first. And if you don't approve them, we won't open at all.
Okay, any more discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All the same, motion carried.
Perfect, thank you. And just FYI, our hope is to open hopefully late next week. So we will start getting that balanced and get the staff in. And I'm not sure with the only 4, if we'll be able to run a full shifts every single day. So that the schedule may change from week to week, just depending on when these kids' availability. So I'll keep you posted at the June 13th. I'll give you more information at the next council meeting that I attend. So we'll move on from there.
Any other questions for Brian?
Well, there's gotta be a way to find more people. That's what I think. Could we talk to people that have worked there in the past? That
Sure.
I mean.
Yeah, you can talk to anybody. I've reached out to these. I've reached out to them. And
I think one of the things that we do that is really beneficial in past years, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think it really helps, is we are up at the high school. We have people at the high school that are looking for lifeguards for us also. And
Right.
when we started doing that up at the high school a few years back, that really basically made it a whole lot easier to locate and get staff in place. It's just, we still do that, but.
we don't have the inside there. Yeah, we had 2 managers that also worked there, so they had summers off. And so we promote at the high school, and then they were in there to help. So now we didn't have that this year. And so I brought information up there, I brought applications up there, and this is where we're at.
Yeah, we get with the high school, we make the contacts with the high school that we used to do, but we had inside bodies to help us
Right.
push it through the high school.
So
So we need the high school to.
out of, last year, remember, we only had 6. And out of those, the 3 that didn't come back, one's got a different job in Fergus, one's in college, staying in the cities, and the other one got 2 different jobs, and so he doesn't have time to do it. I've spoke to them, trying to see what was going on, they could come back. And only one of those said he could make more money in Fergus. But the other ones just were doing other things with their life. So
How much do, Rachel mowing?
she, $15.96, I believe. The other, the trimmer and push mower guys, they get $11.96.
To me, this job is way up on the top for responsibility. When you look at the requirements and what could be asked of them, I don't think we're involved with it. That's my
Any more discussion? Thank you, Brian.
Thanks.
Let's go on to item number 7, Pelican Peak 5K Run. Amanda Wheeler just walked in the door, so she can have the.
I just need to get approved that we can do the 5K again this year. We are changing up the route. If we could, I just talked to Laura Januszewski, because she's going to be running most of it. She wants to start at Lake Region and go out back on the gravel roads back there, because the parking lot will be under construction at Chauncey Martin Field. And Lake Region has already okayed us to use their parking lot back there, and we would not be on any, on 59 or on 108. We would just be back there on the gravel road, out and back in.
So, can you tell me the date and time?
It's July 2nd, sorry, July 2nd at 8 in the morning.
Okay. Council have any questions? And the police department?
Yeah, usually Statham, has been there, but I don't know if we need anybody if we're gonna be back in the back roads back there in the country versus through town.
So you're not going to use any city streets?
No, Laura does not want to because of the construction, and she'd rather just have a little more scenic route, easier route. So they drew that one up and said, go talk, Amanda. I said, okay. So, yeah.
So, motion second? Second. Motion second, discussion? 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 Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All the same, motion carried. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you very much.
Let's go on to item number 8, senior citizen building / Lane and Grepswood. And I guess I would like to present this just an FYI at this point, because this is the first time we'll be hearing about this information. I'd like to retain some of this before we actually make a decision.
No problem.
Whatever your proposal is.
Yeah, no problem. Good afternoon. For those of you that don't know me, I'm Lana Grepsrud. I own and operate Hillbilly Laser, which I launched in May of 2020. When I first envisioned my business, I kind of had this cute, quaint location in town in my head, not wanting to bite off more than I can chew. This was not feasible with a new business, especially during COVID. So I set up shop at my dad's place west of town. It's where I've been operating since then. Expansion's been good. Expansion's been really good. I have ambitious 3, 5, and 10-year goals for my business. I surpassed my first goal in 2020 with just 8 months of business and exceeded the 6-figure mark. As of May 1st this year, 2 years into business, I'm already moving on with my 3-year plan. End of June, I'm adding a VG3 8-color wide format printer so I can add banners, signs, decals, posters, whatnot to my product offerings. This machine is why I'm here talking to you today. About a month ago, I made a call to Mr. Solga about some properties on the southwest edge of Pelican. They're zoned residential and they're bare, so we turned the conversation to more commercial properties that the city owns. He mentioned that the city owns several lots and buildings in town, and you're willing to negotiate ownership of those properties if I can prove that I can bring business or jobs to town. So after a few ideas back and forth, I asked about the senior citizen building. He noted it would be a strong possibility as the city acquired it from the senior group last year, and it needs a lot of work, specifically new roof, new HVAC, ADA compliance, all of that stuff. Brian let me in about a month ago to kind of look around. The space is good, but it does need a lot of work. I mean, it's an old building. I bid about Hillbilly Laser. I currently run an Epilogue Helix 60-watt laser. My main products offered are custom laser drinkware, custom gift items, and signs. I found a niche doing large quantity water bottle and tumbler orders for hospitals, corporate events, churches, etc. While my clients span from New York to Florida, California to Washington, about 40% of my orders I fulfill are the Pelican Rapids and surrounding areas. So I do a lot of local businesses as well. I'm currently a one-woman operation wearing all the hats from accounting, designing, production, and shipping. As I build more clientele and run more machines and offer more products, I expect to add more team members to my business. Hopefully in the next year, a seasonal part-time employee, and in the next 3 to 4 years, about a half dozen employees. On a personal level, I'm a 97 graduate of Pelican Rapids High School. After college, I moved back to town and have been a resident of Pelican since. I am a committee member of the Viking Gala and have been approached about becoming a chamber member. I plan to join once I have a workspace in town and I'm able to fully commit to those organizations and boards. I'm here to talk to you today about the next steps and have a conversation about the senior building. I think it would be a win-win for both of us, being as it would take the building, its expenses, and upkeep off your guys' books and budget, and in doing so, get my business within city limits to generate jobs, enable growth, and put the building back on the tax roll for the city and the local utilities. This building will be a first impression when visitors come to the new all-purpose trail. It's the first thing they see when they get out of their car. Right now, it seems a vacant space, but what I see is a small, simple structure that overlooks a park and needs some TLC. I plan to make several capital improvements to it to increase its value and really make a statement for out-of-towners. So right now, I just kind of like to start a conversation of what your thoughts are, what the next step is.
If you were to get this building, what do you see as the future for the Meals on Wheels?
Right now, I don't consider that really an issue. Like, I don't plan to touch the kitchen, the west end at all. If they want to still operate out of there, it's fine with me. If they
We
can,
have an agreement with them.
right, yep,
They operate there.
yep. No, I understand that. Yep.
Council have questions? Like I said, this sort of dropped in our lap.
Well, I know, and it's bad timing, I know, because I attended the last meeting when the funeral home was in here and acquired the upstairs. My conversation with Mr. Solga started over a month ago, so it's just kind of bad timing. It looks like I'm trying to like feast on an opportunity when my conversation started before all of this, you know. It's not like I read in the press, like, oh, they're giving stuff away. You know, it's like, it happened, it's been going on for a while. It just happened to, this is what, timing-wise.
I'm interested, like, I'm not quite sure what we're talking about. Are you talking about like news cup, that type of thing, or is it printing on it?
Yeah,
No, well, yeah,
I don't know what.
that's the kind of stuff I do. I didn't do that one, but I do custom lasering. So, the bulk of my orders are custom mugs, custom water bottles. I have wholesale accounts with Owala, Blender Bottle, Brewmate. I've tried Yeti, not big enough for Yeti, but I have wholesale accounts with a lot of large name brands.
You don't have a sample, right?
I don't.
You should have like.
I was gonna bring you, I didn't want to bribe you. I didn't make it look like I was bribing you guys with gifts. But yeah, I mean, and obviously nothing's gonna be happening today, but hillbillylaser.com is my website. It has a ton of stuff. I've done stuff for Kevin before. You've gotten some of my gifts from your daughter for Christmas. So,
I had a question for Don.
Mm-hmm.
If Lana would retain this building, how big a footprint of land would she need to go with it?
Well, one of the things that we talked about was, you know, the fact that the Veterans Memorial Park is right there and that parking lot is right there. And I believe I kind of mentioned that the building might be a possibility, but the parking lot not so much because of the fact that the park is down there and everything else too, which didn't seem to be a real concern because there's obviously off-street parking.
yeah.
She'd still be able to get deliveries down there, that type of thing. I see it as just the footprint of the building. If that was something that the council wanted to do, there'd be no land with it, it would just be the building.
You have delivery trucks that come down?
UPS and FedEx, occasionally a freight truck, but I mean, not often. Freight is not often, but yeah, daily UPS,
And
weekly, but yeah. No, go ahead.
Like I say, obviously with that parking lot, it's a public parking lot. So for people that were to come in and visit with their other business, the parking that parking lot would be an issue anyway.
Right, and future employees could park across in this, like, behind Ace Hardware and use the pedestrian bridge to get to work. I mean, it's, because those are both public parking lots, right? I mean, there's street parking, there's,
I know previously we've talked to the park department about using the bathrooms for a trailhead. And I know that's been talked about in the past at that building.
yep, would those need to be ADA compliant?
Yeah, that's one of the things.
Yep.
The city maintaining ownership of that building, if we were going to use it, we'd have to have, obviously, major updates to it to be ADA compliant.
Yeah.
Entrances and all that stuff too. So we
Yeah.
started kind of talking about that. That is a potential use for the building. The, you know, the feasibility of a commercial kitchen is kind of also a potential for the building. And Lana's proposal is another potential for the building.
No one from the park board is here this evening.
about like, you know, we're talking about just the footprint of the building and no land. Future growth for you, if you invest anything in this building, and have zero room for growth. What are your feelings on that?
Can I go up?
And I suppose it depends on what the foundation's like.
Right. Yeah, I mean, that's something to consider long-term. I'm guessing this, with my laser and now this new printer, I mean, this should tide me over for a good 8 to 10 years, probably.
I was curious
Yeah.
what you thought.
Yep. And as far as like the bathrooms and stuff go, you mentioned that, and I've done a lot of research on that. most other trailheads, especially bike trailheads, don't have a designated building per se. They'll have a 3-sided structure with a jiffy, kiosk area for flyers and a trail map. Very simple, nothing elaborate. To make a whole building out of an information center and bathrooms, you're basically, in my opinion, duplicating what the historic city hall is right now. Like, that's 2 football fields away, essentially doing the same thing. That's my opinion. Yes.
Glenn, would you improve the building for heating and cooling and
I'd-
insulation, or what would
Yeah, I mean, I'd have to. The roof would need attention, of course.
Where do you start, though? That's a lot of bucks.
I'm very thrifty and I know a lot of people. Yeah, I mean, and it is a lot to bite off, but it's also, it's a great space that could be so much better. You know, like, that's gonna be first impression for people coming in and using the bike trail. In my opinion, like, and they're zipping along pretty good on, I don't know when they're planning on tarring and kind of keep going, but something, if it's gonna be used for restrooms or whatever, that should be done at least when that gets started, I would think. You know, so it's kind of behind the ball on that.
Yeah, I got a question. What's your timeline?
My timeline?
Yeah.
I'm getting my printer at the end of June. I can work around that a little bit. My laser business is set up west of town, and it can ride there for as long as I need to until I get something set up. I mean, it's not like I need to be in by June 15th. There's no definite timeline like that. I'm just kind of getting the ball rolling on options right now.
I'm just curious, you said getting the printers?
I have
More, or what?
I have it on order. Right now, the only machine I have is my laser. I have a printer on order that's expected to be delivered the end of June. That's the wide format that'll do banners, signs, decals, and whatnot.
That's not laser.
It's not a laser. It's an 8-color. It's an 8-color wide format. Yep.
No, I would, I'll think part of this.
Yeah.
Well, I think the last meeting you said you wanted to rip it down, so this is a good alternative.
I would put a small city hall.
Yeah. Yeah.
I guess I would like to get more of the input from the park department.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Can I, between now and the next meeting, can I arrange to contact the park department and, I mean,
Okay, but-
the park department and have a conversation with them? Okay, I was expecting them to be here tonight because word had gotten out that I was going to be here presenting this. So I was expecting them to come and like interfere a little bit, so.
They're usually here, you must have scared them.
Maybe. I'm very scary.
And actually, it might not be a bad idea to attend the next park board meeting and
Yeah, there you
and
go.
have a
Do you know what that
discussion
is?
with them. Do we know when it is?
Danielle?
No, it's usually the middle of the month.
I know they just had one. I was,
They did,
yeah.
and because of the trail planning that they're working with Apex on, their schedule's gonna be a little goofy because of trying to fit Apex into their normal in-way schedule with them. But we can find out and let you know.
Okay.
Because that
Okay.
might be a good way to just sit down and have a conversation with them about
Right.
all this. Yeah.
Right. Just curious, and not that it's any of my business, but like you guys acquired the building, and then you basically put it under the park board's umbrella of responsibility to my, so,
I don't know if we did or not.
I don't
Well-
know if it even went that far. It was because of the potential use of that building as a community center, commercial kitchen, that type of a concept, then the potential would be that it would fall under the parks
okay.
kind of advisory.
So any improvements that would come from the park board fund, or that would come from the city fund?
All city.
Okay. Okay. I was just curious, because if, you know, they're raising money for the pool, it might be like, okay, switching gears, it's like, whoa, you know, like, where's our funds going type of thing, so I was just curious.
Any other questions? for-
Yeah, Lana, I'd like you to think about the industrial park too. I'll think on this. Way to go.
Yeah, I mean, I know there's lots there. I call it the stoplight region. There's a handful of vacant buildings down there that should be businesses. You know, if we can somehow like turn that into, you know, revenue. Yeah.
We talked about a lot of different.
Yeah, we've talked a lot in the last month about options and,
But this one best fits your situation.
oh, for sure. Yeah. Yeah.
Any other questions?
How many other buildings did you look at?
Physically look at? None. Online look at? 24. I mean, this isn't like I'm like on a whim asking for this. I've done a lot of research. I've reached out to Foltz on pricing of if I were to get a lot. I mean, I've done a lot of looking and research and just, yeah. This is the best fit as far as space. Needs improvements, I can make it how I want, but it's not, you know, start from scratch type of thing. Yeah.
Any other questions? If not, thank you.
Yep.
Quick question, my name's
Can you
Ellie.
address yourself at the podium, please?
Hi, my name's Ellie Litzinger. I'm with the Local Foods, Local Places Initiative. So I was wondering, so let's say Meals on Wheels finds a different location to produce their food. What's going to happen with the kitchen equipment? Are you planning on selling that off to the highest bidder?
I haven't thought that far ahead, honestly. Yeah. Are you looking for equipment?
Well, I mean, we are running a feasibility study on commercial kitchen right now.
Yep.
So
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah, I haven't thought that far ahead. Right now, the Meals on Wheels was the only kind of hurdle that was approached, you know, mentioned. So I'm like, well, in my mind, that's a non-issue. Make me a plate of food too, I'd be happy with that. So, yeah.
Would your bathrooms have to be ADA compliant?
To my understanding, anything that's like privately owned does not need to be ADA compliant. It's like when you start crossing into the public, then it would be an issue.
Any other questions? If not, I'm sure you'll be seeing this on the next agenda.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Let's go up to item number 5, liquor store personnel. We have Maggie Johnson here. Maggie?
Thank you. Okay, so I am back to request the hiring of 2 summer helpers at level 1. And these are just summer people. Yes, I know I got 2 people last time, but those were like year-round people, but we need more summer people.
You have to advertise for them? You have
No, I have them.
to give them names?
Sarah Willits and Samantha Johnson. They have both worked for the city before as well.
I'll move we approve these 2 individuals for liquor store. Motion second, discussion? 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 Hearing none, all in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same. Motion carries. We also have liquor store report in our packet. Is there a motion to approve the report?
So moved.
Second? Second. Motion second, discussion? 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 Hearing none, all in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, the same. Motion carried. Anything else, Nate?
That should do her.
Can we just, how's it going?
Well, it picked up definitely over the weekend. It's been dragging out, and I will not say we are up to what we were 2 years ago, but we're doing better than we were 3 years ago. I mean, there's still this major COVID, minimal COVID, and then this year. So we're playing catch up, but we're still doing really well.
Any building issues with the rain?
No, there were no leaks when I came in this morning. I saw no puddles anywhere. I was just running through a mental checklist. I went in every room and I didn't see anything leaking.
Okay, thank you. Done.
And you are open Sundays now?
And we are open Sundays for the rest of the summer, and our hours have switched from 9 to 9, Monday through Wednesday. So we are open 9 to 10, Monday through Saturday, and 11 to 6 on Sundays.
Any other questions? If not, thank you, Megan.
Thank you.
Item number 9 is resolution 2022-11, accepting monetary limits on municipal tort liability, and that was in our packet. Don, do you want to address that?
The resolution that you basically act on every year is just proclaiming that the city is not going to change any liability limits that we basically have statutorily. We're not setting our own. Basically, you guys have to.
And move to adopt resolution 2022-11. Second. Motion second. Discussion. Hearing none, all in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, the same. Motion carries. Item number 10 is police department update. Don.
Yeah, I just wanted to update you guys on, kind of where things are at now that Chief Skaven is out on medical leave for a while. He's expected to be out for sure 6 weeks. We're kind of put it towards the end of June. And we all wish him the best and hope that he recovers quickly and gets back to work as soon as possible. But just to kind of let you know, when this all transpired, I started having conversations with Ottawa County Sheriff's Office right away. They obviously do provide mutual aid to the city, and we cover their back and they cover ours, so to speak. One of the things that I did first off was I kind of rearranged our phone setup. And so in the past, when we normally operated, someone called the non-emergency line. If it's an emergency, call 911. But the non-emergency line, the desk phone here, when they would call that, if an officer wasn't in the office to pick up, it would transfer after a couple of rings to their cell phone that each of them have on duty. If that wasn't picked up, it would transfer to another line, and ultimately it would get to Jeff's line that he carries with him all the time. When it got to that point, he would answer the phone or would go to a voicemail. And the reasoning behind that was, with having one officer on duty, if that officer was tied up busy doing something, ultimately Jeff would know that if it got to him that the officer was tied up, and Jeff would take it or at least answer the call. Assuming it's not an emergency, we didn't call 911. So what I did in light of the situation we have in front of us is I got a hold of the dispatchers Ottawa County, and actually any call coming into the desk phone right now would automatically transfer to dispatch. And dispatch, emergency or non-emergency, dispatch would take the call, and they would then either get a hold of an officer, if our officer's on duty. If not, they would take the information down and then relay that information to our officers once an officer is on duty. Dispatch has a copy of all of our schedules, and so they know when there's gaps. If they get a call, and it's not non-emergency, they'll look at the schedule and make sure that if there's an officer on duty, they will call the officer with the information. If not, they'll hold that information until the next officer is on duty. The way that's set up is working really well. In fact, maybe something we look at possibly continuing, because it kind of works out well. Ottawa County is going to put together some type of an agreement with us to do that. The one thing that it does is it gets the caller connected with actual voice, a human being, really fast, because dispatch is there 24/7, as opposed to having to transfer to a call, to a cell phone, and finally you're going to get a body after about 8 or 9 or 10 rings before you're going to get a voicemail. So it's worked out really well. The other thing that I've worked on is schedules, and we created quite a Jeff had the schedule figured out up until through this pay period, and with the holiday in there, it was all kind of put together. But then with Jeff going out, because he was filling gaps patrolling, and we also had another officer that was scheduled to leave for another position, and so that all happened at the same time, which took us from 5 potential patrolling officers down to 3. So the schedules had to be redone. And After initial discussions with the chief and with our most senior officer, I had put together schedules and sent them down to Otter Tail County, so that the sheriff's office also had them to comment on and review. And they did, and after a conversation and an email from the chief deputy down there, it was kind of, I was putting the schedule together based on our officers being the main officers on days, and after some discussions, and with the county covering other times when we didn't have shifts, I actually then, after talking with Otter Tail County, switched them up a little bit. So we're night heavy, but we do basically try and cover all the shifts, and in most cases we do cover days and nights. Anyway, so I was working on schedules with the Otter Tail County Sheriff Department covering gaps. And then today I met with Chief Deputy Reinbold and also Councilman Markraft, who's also a portfolio with the police department, but and because of his entire law enforcement and knowledge there. So we sat down, we met about schedules, and we talked about some other things. And one of the things that came up early on in all this was the possibility that the city council or the city should appoint an interim chief. And at first, I thought, after talking to the post board about it and talking to Otter Tail County about it, I thought that maybe that was something that we wouldn't necessarily need to do if this was going to be short term. But after meeting with the chief deputy, Councilman Markraft, and then just having some other discussions, I think probably that's the route we want to go. And I think I'm going to let Councilman Markraft kind of share a little bit about why we would want to do that. And I've got my little things that I think would be a good reason behind it. But after the discussion today and Kurt's experience and all of this too, I think he would be a better one to explain why we would want to do an interim chief. Kurt, you want to?
Well, I thought you were doing a great job saying everything I thought needed to be said, but it's just a lot of little things that if you're not a licensed police officer, you cannot handle. You can't do. I mean, even internally down, be unavailable or unable to approve liquor licenses or tobacco licenses or gun permit applications and run background checks. Things that Jeff does quietly all the time. Somebody needs to be able to do that, and it usually is a chief of police or somebody appointed that, and needing to be licensed by the state to do it. That was largely it. Also, we have a rather young department, those that we have left anyway. They're going to have questions. The seasoned officers have questions. It's nice to have somebody in-house that you're already familiar with and know, such as your chief, in this case, that you can call and bounce things off of. Legally, anybody can be called. I mean, I'm sure in many cases they refuse working deputies at the sheriff's office. We used to do that when I worked in this town. But at the very least, they could be directed to, we'll say, the acting chief in Pelican. If the acting chief in Pelican didn't have the answer, they would have the ability to have the answer for them in moments rather than days. I mean, it's just something that both legal reasons and non-legal reasons I think was important. So I asked Don to consider it and see what you thought about it. And here's where we are. And I'm sure you have other reasons, but those are the main reasons I was.
Yeah, I think those are the main reasons, just to make sure that the officers have somebody that they can call. Because I'm not going to be able to give them the information if they call me in the middle of the night and say, hey, I got this, and I want to bounce it off you. It needs to be somebody in law enforcement, and so.
And I assume you have somebody in mind.
Yes, and so, so after the discussions today and also with Chief Deputy Renville too, we would like the council to, and I've talked to this officer too already, but we'd like the council to appoint Officer Mike Iverson as interim chief. I talked to Mike, he understands what we're expecting of him. He'll still be obviously patrol officer, but he'll handle those things that we need a chief to handle. And in the conversations with him too, how do you compensate him for taking on that additional? And so, what we come up with was, we don't know how much time he's going to spend. We know what he's going to patrol if he's on the schedule as a patrol, but there might even be some things he's doing while he's patrolling that would be, you could classify as interim chief or chief responsibility. And then also a lot of them times when he's going to be called by other officers, he's probably going to be at home sleeping or, whatever. And so he'll be doing some of that while he's at home. And so in my discussions with him, what we thought was fair was to basically, from the time you guys appoint him as interim chief until we don't need the interim chief position anymore, paying him at level 1 of the chief's scale, which basically gives him about another $1.80 an hour, and he was fine with that. We'll see how things go. Going forward, if it looks like it's a lot more demanding of his time in that role, then we look at the compensation piece of it. But for now, I think that's reasonable, thinking that it's not going to be a whole lot, there'll be some there. So if the council agrees with that recommendation, I would ask you guys to do that.
I move to approve Mike Iverson as interim chief.
I'll second that. Motion second, discussion.
Any issue with his residence?
That was one of the things that I first brought up in our discussions today when I was first thinking along these lines. It would be nice to have somebody local in case if that call comes in that requires, maybe in Jeff's case, Jeff would have just came in and assisted the officer with it. So that was one of my first thoughts. But when we went through and threw out some options or some possibilities, it turned out that none of those possibilities were going to be local. This needs to be a licensed individual to do it, because I had brought up a couple of names of individuals that used to do this, law enforcement, but they're no longer licensed, that type of thing. So I think this will work if it's an emergency. Local would be great, but if it's an emergency situation or something that's going to require some physical assistance, somebody bodily to come and help or whatever, the officers already have a network for that. And they'll call the county sheriff's department, the county deputy on duty if they think that they're going to need assistance that way. What we're talking about isn't necessarily that type of assistance, it's more those general calls. If there's a gap in the schedule and somebody calls in, they have got to talk to a police officer, then staff here, if they called staff here as opposed to calling the desk number, then, staff here would have somebody that they could call and ask, in this case, Officer Iverson to call this person back because they really need to talk with, police chief or whatever. So it's more not necessarily needing somebody local. It'd be great if it would be, but in this case, we can't find that person, and this is going to work. We'll readdress it if we need to, but this should work.
Any other discussion? I have one question. Patrolman Iverson pays into the union. Is this a conflict with the union?
I thought of that after our conversation today, and I made that, we kind of came to this conclusion where this is a great idea, and as I was driving away, I went, may have to approach the union on a OMU or whatever they call them,
Yeah, I'll look into that, but,
The union won't stand in the way of it in any way. I don't know how they'll handle it though.
Yeah, I'll have to look into that, but I think that could be done along, coinciding with us starting to basically start doing those duties. Yeah, and it might be an MOU or
Okay, any more discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, the same. Motion carried. Thank you, John. Item number 11 is,
Yeah, I just have another question about, since we've lost another full-time, are we now looking for two full-time?
Yeah, good question, because we had posted for a full-time position, and that posting is still out there. Actually, probably should say, I think the time on that posting lapsed because probably just last week or whatever it was, but we need to extend that posting. I don't foresee us going through with looking at any applications until the chief is back. But when the chief comes back, we're going to be up to see.
need a motion to extend the posting?
No.
Is there any way we can pay to cover the gaps, I mean, through the county or?
Well, that was part of the discussion today too. We're short, every law enforcement agency around here is short-handed.
Everybody's short.
The counties, they are covering for us. But paying them isn't gonna make them cover any better.
But I mean,
anymore.
somebody that's nearby, I mean, they're not always nearby.
They don't have the staff. They
So they
don't,
would not be able to help us.
they, by designating a county deputy for Pelican Rapids, no. And part of the reason is because they have some circumstances within their department that are creating shorthandedness for them too. So no.
They have the same hiring problem that
Cool.
every
Yeah,
single
that's so
department
cool.
is having.
We'll continue to brainstorm and think of ways that, what we could do to cover shifts, and minimize gaps. When I did the schedules, and I know I had sent you guys a copy so you could kind of see what one might look like. And as I explained to Councilman Markraft and the Chief Deputy today, my goal initially was to have schedules done so that I could show that all the officers are getting their 80 hours that we need to have them for full-time officers. Now I want to go back, working with Interim Chief Iverson, and start looking at the gaps and how we can minimize or reduce them gaps through overtime, through just kind of the normal schedule, 6 to 6, or for a 12-hour shift. Look at possibly not necessarily doing 6 to 6, but maybe doing an 8 to 4. Just shifting things around a little bit within the schedule to try and fill gaps. It may not make sense to have somebody here at 5 o'clock or 4 o'clock in the morning, have them start later and work later. Them types of ideas. So those, and if other personnel options come up, we'll look at those too, but,
I would just like to add that since Jeff went out and the county was made aware of everything, their area car, if they're not busy, has noticeably spent more time near a Pelican. Their areas are huge, and they only have one car in each area, but they know their area and what goes on in their area, so they just, I suppose out of caution or to help out, they're closer than you think. Oftentimes right in town, more than they normally would be, and that this has got to be the reason why. They're willing to help us. They don't have the staff to designate somebody to be here.
Okay, thank you. Item number 11 is council chamber technology discussion, John.
Yeah, I had mentioned last time, I think it was last council meeting, the one before that I had Sight and Sound come over and take a look at the council chambers and look at how we could reconfigure things to be more technological, I guess, and start live streaming on YouTube, or a YouTube channel. Which, by the way, Mayor, when you do those announcements and you tell people that the council meeting's available on Wednesday night.
They still are, right?
Yes, they still are, but you could also mention, or should also mention that you could see them next day on our YouTube channel. The current one, sorry. Just to throw it out there, but, so, when I talked to Sight and Sound about it, they finally did send me a quote, and to get a camera, to set it all up, to do the training that's needed, the microphone system and everything, the sight and sound work would be about $8,200. And then on top of that, the city would also have to buy a laptop that would be used for that system. And we would mount, the camera and everything against the back wall, have the laptop and the internet and everything coming down to it. So we're looking at with that laptop, we're probably looking at about a $10,000 investment. And then on top of that, we still want to get the new iPads for the councilmen. And we're looking at about a $10,000 investment there with the cost of iPads. And so we're looking at $20,000. And I still want to make sure that this is what we want to do. I hope I don't sound reluctant and wonder if this is the time or whatever, but because of other things that we're looking at and talking about, when I look at the number of people that are attending these council meetings online, and then I look at the price tag to do what we're trying to do, I think, are we doing this for 2 or 3 people, really? I kind of go back to, if people were really interested in what the city council was doing, they'd either be showing up online now because they have the availability to zoom into every meeting. And we have 5 people on tonight, and 3 of them are City Hall. So really, we're going to put this kind of money into this technology to live stream on YouTube for the 2 people that might be watching. So I'm thinking, do we really want to do it now, or do we want to be? The iPads are a different thing because you guys have outdated tablets, and not all you guys use those. So to put $10,000 into those for the 2 or 3 that use them, is that the best use of taxpayer dollars? In a nutshell, I just want to make sure, is this what council wants to do, or should we wait until we start looking at the budget for 2023, look where the numbers fall, and then add 20 grand to it, or maybe it'll always look bad to add another 20 grand for technology. I just am questioning whether this is the route we want to go for the 2 or 3 people that really pay attention to this stuff.
Well, when I see all the projects we have on the table and the avenue to spend city money for good use, I guess I don't see this as a priority at this point in time. You may disagree with me, but yes.
I would table it. I think that's too much money.
Yeah.
The iPads?
Everything, yeah.
I don't get it.
So we're sort of in a consensus then that
What's that deal, dude?
I was not working.
Pardon?
It's not working.
It's not working?
yeah,
It's not working. Your old tablet.
yeah, the old tablet.
Well, then Steve,
I think the guys that use the old tablets, buy my guys.
Yeah, we can get you new ones.
I'm happy using my own. It's all I do on it is follow along and read the minutes that can email to me exclusively on that. I don't even get the minutes on my phone. I made an email just for my iPad. And I use it for here when I get to plug it in. Because I read an 8-page document tonight on a low battery and didn't have time to charge.
Well, in the interim, until we get a new one too, we've got curbs at City Hall. I mean, if you're a guy, we can.
No, either way, I think updating those that have the technology that I had when I first started, probably time to upgrade that anyway.
Yeah, that's fine.
And I'm still happy with cutting down a tree.
Okay, so maybe I'll reach out, I know, maybe I'll reach out and get a couple of you and find out if you want to get yours replaced or not, and then we'll look at replacing.
Okay, is that it? Yeah.
I have input. My name's Justin Fury. I live north of town, but I've watched on YouTube, and really the biggest thing with the meetings on YouTube watching is the audio, and that's the biggest issue. Being able to hear people at the mic, but not being able to hear you guys, which is kind of goofy how that works. But really what needs to happen with that is not a huge sound system, huge video system, whatever, but something that's under $500, just a room microphone. Because these microphones are designed just to pick up within 2 feet or so of the microphone. So they make specially designed microphones that goes all around, you know, something that you just put in the middle of the room right where that is, and it would pick up everything.
Yeah, that's a very good point. We've got the sound board right here.
Thank you.
So it's just a matter of getting a microphone. Right now, basically, because the city uploads the council meetings to Arctic, you know, we have that microphone that goes into the wall and goes over to the camera, and it's part of the sound for that. So at a bare minimum, it would be very easy to, and probably inexpensive, to be saying, to get a microphone that we could somehow set in the middle of the room. You know, that was part of what we talked inside and sound about, was putting bar mics in and mount them up there that would pick up the whole room and go to that system. And those microphones, and buying a couple of those, it wouldn't be very expensive looking at doing that. Their microphones that we were talking about might be more expensive than you know what we're thinking, but you know what he's referring to, we could look into doing that. Now, that conference mic right there is what we use for the Zoom. That picks everything up in the Zoom very well. When you listen to the Zoom system, you don't have an issue with microphones. It's just the one, and the reason we have that one is for what gets uploaded to Arctic. So,
Do you want to check on that microphone?
yeah, we can look at doing something to
I would just
update.
add to that, you know, I've heard us talk about in the past that camera needs a lot of insight. And I don't know, if we're gonna upgrade a mic, we should make sure it's gonna be compatible with some kind of a camera upgrade, because that camera's been around as long as I have.
Yeah, that camera's doing that.
And I haven't been around as long as most of these guys, just to point that out.
Rub it in. I'm going to cut you off here.
Yeah. So, do you do that kind of stuff? I mean, install mics and things like that, or? What, like, how do you know this stuff?
He's young.
I'm a church planting pastor, so I've,
You want to address
oh,
the mic?
yes, sorry.
There we go.
Yeah.
I'm a church planting pastor, so I have a bunch of experience with sound and stuff, so, you know, buying systems and figuring out what we need, and keyword pastor, so I'm cheap, so.
And what kind of happened was when we moved the council chamber, because when you guys had all of them mics sitting right in front of you that were hooked into the system, there wasn't that issue. It's when we basically decided to move that to the front to allow for more seating out here, which we were eventually going to get to. We couldn't use the mics anymore because we didn't have the cabling on them, were not long enough. And that's why we had talked about putting a microphone, the bar mics hanging from the ceiling up above you that would be sensitive enough, because the technology's changed since we did this, that they'd be able to pick up the whole room.
So we just need more cable?
Well, those mics basically would need to be replaced because the cable, the length of the cable were part of the mics that they designed when they put it all in. But yeah, we can have a conversation and because he obviously knows a whole lot more about it than I do. Here, so.
Knock yourself into a job.
Oh, okay.
At least the conversation, and you might know what it is.
You know what the pay is, right? You said you work cheap.
I'm used to it.
Yeah, because really what it would take is a microphone that could pick up the room, that we basically bring it over here and plug it right into this board. Because that's what this is for. There's no mic plugged into it right now because they don't reach you guys. There's just a mic that picks up the room that we can cable over and plug in, and we've got a microphone.
Okay. Thank you, Don. Thank you, Mr. Perry. See you again.
Leave your phone number.
Item number 12, City Hall Personnel City Administrator position. Don.
Yeah, so I wanted to kind of throw this out there a little bit. Obviously, you all have been contacted, so you're all aware. The community hasn't been made aware yet. But I'm retiring as of the end of this year on December 31st. We'll see if it goes to that point or not, barring vacation and other things. But so I just wanted to make the public aware of it. The councilman already had been aware of it. But with that coming up, I wanted the community and the elected officials to know with plenty of time to figure out what the process is going to be, how the process should go in replacing them. So one of the things that I know we need to consider is, obviously I'm not going to replace it myself, so there needs to be, I believe, the process that the city went through to find me, probably that same process. And I recall back at that point, 18 years ago, there was a committee put together, an interviewing committee put together, and I looked up those minutes and actually shared them with Mayor Frazier today, just to kind of, I couldn't remember who all was on it. I was one of those very nervous people coming in to apply for the job, so who all did I talk to? I don't remember, but anyway, so I think an interviewing committee needs to be appointed. And then I thought too, it might be worthwhile, depending on who's on that committee, to have them be a part of the conversation of what process they want to use. Do you just want to post it in a bunch of places and see what comes up? Does the city want to, look at possibly using a headhunter, to use that phrase, to search out and find some applicants? I can tell you that whether you're at the county level or whether you're at a city level, there is a lot of city administrators, there's a lot of communities looking for city administrators. So just like every other profession right now. Filling those positions might not be that easy to do, I don't know. But the other thing I thought about too, and something that the council might want to consider, is, I've already put in place and done all the work to start posting and advertising for an economic development director. And whether you still want to go forward with that, or whether you want to start basically really concentrating on replacing the city administrator with the possibility that who you find may be able to do the economic development roles that you're looking to do. And in my opinion, if the city was fortunate enough to find somebody that had the knowledge and the background to do both, you'd be saving the taxpayers a lot of dollars. Because if you remember, when we put it in the budget to hire it, and looking at that position was going to add to the budget and the levy, if you could basically trim that back by being fortunate enough to find somebody that is could be a city administrator but also have an economic development background, that would be a huge benefit. So, kind of what I want the council to consider is the process. How do you want to move forward? What do you want to do next, or what do you want to talk about next? With the fact that you're going to be replacing not only me, but you're still looking for that economic development director. Any thoughts, any questions?
When you were hired, did they do this through a posting or headhunter or?
I don't know what the city, I don't know what the city did, Steve, because I didn't come across the job through an advertisement. I came across it by basically running into somebody else. To be honest with you, I was standing on the first tee box at Birchwood Golf Course by myself, ready to play around the golf, and all of a sudden somebody came up and asked, "Hey, you by yourself, and would you like, mind if I walk with you?" I said, "Sure." Well, that person happened to be somebody on the committee. And it was through just general discussion in that 9 holes of golf that him asking me, about my background, about my education, and everything else, and then he took it back to that committee and said, "I think we have to have this guy apply." And so they reached out to me, and I thought about it and applied, and here I am. So I don't know what they do, you know. I was fortunate enough to run into that individual that day, in the sense that what I've been doing for the last 18 years it's been a blast. Not all the time. but you know, I think I had a great background to get into this, and I think you know, Pelican Rapids has come a long ways in 18 years, but so I don't know. I believe they just posted the job at different places. You know, we have the newspaper, we have the League of Minnesota Cities is where we post jobs that go out statewide. And there might be somebody beyond the state of Minnesota that was posting on the League of Minnesota Cities. Minnesota job, they used to call it the job service or whatever. That's still, Minnesota Works, I think it's called, that's still an option. The county now has their job, on the county website where they have those job listings and stuff too. So there's various avenues out there. But I thought maybe to see if we could quickly, you know, not quickly, but maybe look at establishing an interviewing committee and then let them be a part of that conversation on how we want to approach searching.
That last committee, was that when you were hired? Was that a 5-member committee?
I believe so. Yeah, I think there was 2 elected officials. Did you read the thing I sent you?
Yeah, I just saw.
Okay,
I saw
5 people. I think 2 of them were already sitting elected officials. One was the rest of them were basically business owners. So.
But we have to approve your retirement.
You Yeah, if that would be the case, if that'd be the case in a lot of situations, nobody would ever retire. But, I think we got 7 months to find the right person. And surely, that's why I'm telling you now, because we do not want to wait for the 11th hour on this.
So my question is, do we want to act sooner rather than later so there's overlap, so you can train the person to do it?
Yes.
Yeah, I think that'd be good.
I think that's best. One of the things that I was really fortunate, you know, the city administrator prior to me was gone for 3 months before I came in, or 4 months. And so I was very fortunate that you had somebody in the city that had been here for 30 years, Glennis. And so Glennis had all the head knowledge and all the information, and boy, I'm that old guy now. With all that head knowledge, and not that the staff doesn't know a lot of things, they do, but I think for me to step away and then somebody else come in and take this position without having me to, well, it's not like I'm going anywhere, but without having me to kind of show them what we're working on, where it's at, with my files and my computer and all that stuff, I think an overlap would be great. But having said that, when I'm retired, I'm still here, kind of. I won't be here next winter, but I'll be here.
You won't be here any winter, right?
Yeah, probably not. But you know, we've learned new technology. Zoom is wonderful. I could be sitting wherever I'm at this next winter, and I could still Zoom. Staff can still get a hold of me. So there is that transition that could carry on beyond the end of the year. I just don't want to be PERA eligible, so that kind of limits how much I can work, which is a benefit to the city, in a sense. So overlap would be good, the more overlap the better.
I see the first step being form a committee, and they can decide how they want to advertise. Correct me if I'm wrong.
I think that's a place to start. I think anything the committee, how does the committee work? Anything the committee, who has the final say, the committee or the council?
They reduce the
Yeah, the really difficult position that you guys are always put in is approving a recommendation. and not being involved in the process. And that's,
So there
that's
needs to
part
be
of
some,
it.
needs to be some counsel in the process.
Well, I agree. I think the council was wise when they were looking for a city administrator in the past, was to have 2 elected officials. 3 obviously is a quorum and creates an issue, but there should be no less than 2.
So there was 2 city council, or 2 city elected officials. You recall how they chose the others?
I don't,
Or who chose them?
I don't know how they came up with them.
That a city council decision.
Yeah, the city council, somewhere along the line, the city council appointed an interviewing committee.
Well, we have a new EDA, right, for not
EDC. You know, you guys, and maybe this is something to think about, but you'd already established a economic development director interviewing committee. And, you know, you had representation from the council, but you also, and it was just 3 people there, but this might be, you might have to add another elected official or whatever you guys want to do there, but, you know, you had a commitment from the county CDA, Amy Baldwin, to do that, and I can always reach out to her, but from an economic development standpoint, I think she might be a good person. And then Tim Thompson also from, as a, you know, Lake Region, but also economic development background. He was willing to set in too. So you've got a couple that might just say, well, okay, we'll set on this one. But, you know, you could also just, never mind Amy, keep Tim and find a couple other business owners. And it doesn't have to be 5 people, but you don't want to get it too big, but I really think it's important that 2 elected officials that are part of that whole process, so that when somebody does come with a recommendation, you're more comfortable with it.
Well, I definitely would like to be on the committee. Working almost daily with the city administrator, I'd like to be part of that selection process.
And I won't be part of the selection.
No, I know you will.
Would I set in on the interviews? I mean, I'll let you guys decide that, but I don't think I'd be, you know, anywhere near reading up the interviews and asking questions, because I think that's kind of out of, in a sense, out of order. But to set in case there was questions asked, that's something, that's a possibility.
I know the last committee was the mayor and a city council person,
Right.
3 business people.
Yes. And there was no city administrator at the time because they had already retired, so maybe that's why they weren't a part of that, at least setting in on their interviews. But I would do that if you guys wanted to do that.
Who was the committee for the neighborhood?
It was Councilman Strand and Amy Baldwin and Tim Thompson.
Would replace, like you mentioned, keeping Jim Thompson since he's local here, right out here, the region. Replacing Amy possibly with another business owner in town, aside from Councilman Strand, you probably want to sit on this, but, you know. I mean, because that would be the 2 council.
Can you do that? And who?
Tell me what it is right now.
That's a possibility. Somebody from, well, Tim would be representing the EDC, and somebody from the chamber would be good. Somebody from the school would be good. So just some thoughts.
Yeah.
Well,
But how soon do we want to act on that?
Well, I think if you guys could, you know, if you wanted to kind of share some suggestions, I can reach out to those suggestions.
Yeah.
And then maybe at the next council meeting, make a decision at that council meeting and appoint that committee.
Fine with everyone else?
Yeah, I think that sounds reasonable.
Yeah. Okay.
I'm thinking about the headhunter possibility. How would we
we check with them. Well, there's firms that do that. They have to look into, where they're at, that type of a thing too. That can be spendy, but their reach might be a lot further out than what we might, I don't know, if you get to the big Minnesota city, that's pretty far out. That's statewide and beyond.
It may be spendy, but if we're sitting here a year from now and we don't have anything in that position, that is spendy also.
Yeah, over the years, I get letters from different firms, I can't remember the last time I did, but just, hey, wanted you to know, this city's looking for a city administrator, if you're interested, let us know. That type of a thing. They come all the time and they deal for a lot of it, but.
Because they have the inside scoop for good and bad.
Oh, yeah.
It's not a bad idea.
One of the things that they might be able to help with once if you decide to go that route, what you're looking at for potential wages. And you brought up the lifeguard wages. I think, Pelican Rapids did that wage study in 2016. It's probably time to do another one, especially in light of the fact that inflation and labor issues and everything else has driven wages up everywhere. And so it's probably something that the city wants to look at doing again, not too distant future, maybe next year. It's probably maybe too late to do it this year. And I think, Clarity and Hood did the last one for us, and I'm sure that they would be very interested. That's what they do in doing. They do that type of thing, the city all the time. So it might be something that we want to reach out and talk to them about too. But I think a search committee or a headhunter firm, whatever, would kind of maybe give you some idea of what the wage levels to start out at. You might find that where mine's setting out right now is a good start. But I believe Barnesville maybe used one. I can I'll do some research and some checking around and see too, and maybe we can have that discussion a little bit in the council meeting also.
And you don't think we can get this wage study in before December 31st?
I don't know if well, I'll tell you what, you can ask that question maybe in about 15 minutes or less.
Okay. Okay.
So could you just recap what was involved with that?
With what?
They met with?
Oh, well, yeah, that wage study, basically, we were studying, there hadn't been one done before. So they went through the whole process of surveying all the employees in their job descriptions, what they did, their responsibilities, they had a big survey sheet that every employee filled out. And then from that, they surveyed, I believe, other comparable cities that they had for Pelican Rapids, where their wages were at, and at the end of the day, developed scales. And there was some cases where through the study, some wages, all of them went up. I think there was only, well, not all of them. One of them, I think, pretty much stayed flat. But all the rest of them went up, and in some cases, they went up pretty significantly. So, but their process was, it took a few months to go through it all. And
Quicker this time?
I think it would be quicker this time, and again, I think that'd be questions to ask them, but I think their process has changed a little bit. Because I did bring this up not too long ago when I happened to talk to one of the attorneys on the phone about the fact that they did our last one. So I kind of threw it out there, but just to have a more in-depth conversation about it and the process and how it might have changed from last time, what maybe changed, and then talk about it at the council level.
And that cost is?
Well, I don't remember what we spent last time. 10 grand, 12 grand?
It was quite a bit, but not standard.
But again, last time we did this, we were starting from scratch. And I think a lot of the job descriptions aren't a mission anymore. It should be, but maybe some minor tweaks. But I don't think it'd be the long drawn out process it was last time. We can look into that.
Okay.
I think
Back to
doing
the
it-
city administrator position, one thing that I've been thinking of is that John has learned so much about some different areas. And I think it would be worth our while as either committee or as a council to know a bit more about some of these areas that we had. I don't know, I've been thinking about this since you called me, that, you know, what we need to do as a council, and I think we gotta sit down at some point and talk to Don about some of the areas that he's got concerns with, some of the areas where he learned different things, because, you know, we each have our areas, and, you know, we spend a lot of time on them, but sometimes after talking to Don, I feel a whole lot better about what's going on, and so I think that has got to be a part of our process going forward here at the town.
Almost all the information that comes to us goes to Don first. It's presented to us, and he knows the inside scoop on what's happening. Very good point, Steve. Thank you. So, any other comments? Hearing none. Item number 13, Planning Commission minutes in your packet. Is there a motion to approve?
I'll move we approve the planning committee minutes.
For a second.
Second.
Motion second. Did you ever take discussion? Did you have anything to add to that? Any more discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, the same. Motion carried. Item number 14 is park board minutes, which are in your packet. Is there a motion to approve?
Just to approve the park board.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Motion second, discussion. Hearing none, all in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Same. Motion carried. Let's go to item number 19. That was the other agenda item. Project 93, pay request number 1. Don?
Yeah, Project 93 is the utility extensions out to the industrial park for the county garage. And so the contractor, general contractor basically has bought a bunch of materials and the materials are sitting out there. So the first pay request is for $55,350.16. It's been reviewed by Apex Engineering, and they recommend good payment for COI.
Could you report that? Repeat that number? Yeah.
$55,350.16.
Okay.
16.
I move to approve the payment.
Second.
Motion second, discussion.
And that is reimbursed by the county?
Right, what I'll do is I'll send this down this week to the county and ask them for a check to reimburse us, and they'll send us a check. They've been really good about it. They get it to us really quickly, so.
Any more discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same, motion carried. Item number 15, administrative. Don.
Yeah, aside from the work that we typically do to get that I do to get the council, working with Danielle to get the agenda and everything set, I also attended a pre-con meeting for that Project 93, so I could keep going on that work. I also had a meeting with, on the Pelican Rapids Dam with Houston Engineering and the DNR, and, kind of where that's setting, and at some point they'll be coming to council and updating council again, I'm sure here. And then the monthly 2024 highway project, I attended that meeting. I also attended the housing summit down at Lake Region Electric. I had a conversation on the telephone with Larry and Hood regarding, the information and the conversation you're going to have at the closed meeting tonight. I attended a pre-con meeting for T-Mobile. They're installing updated antennas now, again, up on the water tower for cell service. And so there was a pre-con meeting for that to get them upgrades done. I also attended the employee CPR training had a telephone conversation with our financial consultant, Northland Securities, just an update. I updated them on the different projects that we have, that we're trying to have in Pelican Rapids, from the street projects to the financing, because we do kind of have an idea of what the city's share will be in that now. Updated them on pool and where that stands. And so just an update from the financial side. Also, what's been basically taking most of my time lately is the police schedule. and setting them things up from the police department that I talked to you about earlier. And I also attended a webinar today, or listened in on one, for that Deed was putting on for frontline worker pay program. And that's the one I think I previously mentioned, but the government has allocated some money to pay frontline workers, and so that process of notifying employees when the notification period comes up and all that, notifying employees of their potential eligibility, and sharing the information so they know what website to go to and that type of thing, to file an application to maybe get some, if their frontline worker gets some pay on the walls. So that's my report.
Any questions for Doug?
John, the dam, what, have you walked over it lately? I was someone who contacted.
Yeah, sorry, Brian, maybe that would have been a good question to ask for Brian too, but yeah, just to kind of update you, we know of the situation at the dam. That was one of the reasons for the call with, and meeting that I had with the DNR and Houston Engineering, was specifically that situation that's going on around that windmill. And we've also had in that conversation DNR dam safety down in St. Paul. We sent them photos when we had that meeting a couple weeks ago, and a video of what was going on there. And also Brian sent them updated photos today, because there has been some change in the last couple of weeks. And the reason we had dam safety involved wasn't from the standpoint of, is the dam wall going to collapse? It was more so if they're aware of the situation. Houston Engineering is kind of having conversation with dam safety. We're trying to figure out with them what the best course of action is to take to get that water to slow down going through there. And we know we pulled those stop logs out to reduce the mill pond levels. And with the rains and all the water that we've had, when they were taken out, there's no way for the city to put them back in. That was part of what we relayed to the DNR and dam safety and Houston Engineering. And so Brian reached out to Dan Agee. That was kind of the outcome of the call, was we're going to get a hold of Agee's, pick their brains, because them guys have equipment and they're pretty good at trying to figure things out. And so Brian was going to get with Dan and Steve, have them look at it and see if they have the ability, or to help us think up a way to put them stop logs back in. Because if we put the stop logs back in, it really reduces the amount of flows through those two channels and gets it back over the spillway. Reducing that water underneath the windmill will allow us to basically do some things around them sinkholes, and stop that erosion from happening. But right now, the key is to figure out how to best do it and keep people away from it.
So walking over the dam right now is still safe, you feel?
Well, actually, that was one of the things that I'll get with Brian on tomorrow morning, because part of the discussion was stopping people from going across there. We don't think there's an issue, but we don't, because of the way that dam is constructed, but we really don't want people going across there. And I know with the holiday weekend and Brian being gone on Friday and everything else too, but we really want to discourage people from walking through there.
Okay, thank you, Don. Item number 16 is the mayor's report. I have several items here. It's been 3 weeks since we met last. 11th of May, I met with Carter in Lauderdale County. He's a new hiree that works strictly with broadband within our area, and he is going to come to the city council meeting. Is it the 14th of June, Don?
The next council meeting?
Yeah. Has he set a date? He was going to contact you. He will.
Thank you. Who was that?
Carter,
Okay.
Hunter County. Also that day, I authored a letter of support for Harder Lakes meet up at the industrial park. This was to the USDA. They're planning an expansion up there, and they need some local letters of support. 12th of May attended dam removal, river restoration project meeting here at City Hall. Also that day attended a 2024 Complete Streets meeting. And also that day, there was the Pelican Rapids Housing Summit, which was held out at Lake Region Electric Cooperative, and attended that. There was about 20, 25 people, not only from our community, but the surrounding area that were there. And very informative meeting, and I think they plan on having more of those in the future in different communities. I'm not sure at this point. I haven't heard of any advertised, but very good meeting. May 17th, did an interview with the Lakes Country Service Cooperative. They put out a newsletter, and they just wanted to know about the projects that are going on here in Pelican Rapids, and I gave them a little insight on that. Attended the grand opening at the Fergus Falls Courthouse. It's the Edward J. DeVid Courthouse downtown, where the post office used to be in Fergus Falls. They had the grand opening and art display there. That's still used as a bankruptcy court at this point, which I didn't know. That was very informative. Kate and Rudy Martinez and I attended the Pelican Lake Property Owners Association meeting on the 20th of May. Reason being, they were interested in those projects we have going on here in Pelican. Two or three major ones was the river restoration project and also the 2024 Complete Streets project. So I presented that, and Kate and Rudy presented the pool project, where we are with that. Kate gave the overview, and then Rudy gave the financial report on where we are as far as fundraising and money from state bonding. Speaking of state bonding, I did leave a message with Senator Ingebretson regarding, first of all, his PFAS study, sampling money that could be available. Nothing passed at this legislature at this session, but it also about the bonding bill for the need for the $1.5 million for our pool project. But the legislature adjourned without any bonding bill, and they're possibly talking about a special session, but at this point, nothing has been announced. So we're not sure where that sits at this point. May 26th, attended the Local Foods, Local Places meeting in potluck up at E.L. Peterson Park, and they also had the consultants that are doing the feasibility study for the commercial kitchen there. And like Ellie mentioned, they'll be in our community here and at the library, and please stop by to give them your take on the community kitchen and location and the need in Pelican Rapids. Gave a welcome yesterday at the Memorial Day service at the Pelican Rapids High School. And then today attended a leachate meeting with Administrator Solga. In the past, we had met with this gentleman, Robert Knoll. Yeah, and do you want to give him a little more update on that? Because you were at that meeting.
Well, it was basically, in the past, we basically brought to the council that we were having some conversations, and it's been quite a while since we heard from him, but the possibility of Pelican Rapids receiving leachate from the area landfills. It's a revenue stream for the wastewater plant, and it would be a very good, I think, addition and revenue stream for the wastewater plant to the budget. But he just wanted to bring us up to date on where he was. He's been trying to, he's had meetings with Clay County, and because right now they take it to Fargo, and helping them understand the benefit to Clay County in bringing it here as opposed to going to Fargo, even though Fargo is a little closer financially because of the, you get logistics of getting stuff to Fargo and getting through the traffic and everything else, as opposed to us where it's just drive there, we're right there, no traffic, dump it and go. Their labor, I think, would be a huge savings for Clay County. So he's just meeting with them and trying to get them to understand how it could be a better situation for them. He just wanted to update us on where he was at with that, because it had been, for months.
Yeah.
Many years since we talked to him, so just a little bit of update on that.
That's where that sets at this point. Then today, Administrator Solka and I met to review the agenda for this evening's city council meeting. That concludes my report.
Thank you.
So when's the DNR gonna remove the dam?
Next winter.
Yeah, they're gonna go out for bids this fall, late fall, and the anticipation now is that it will be taken out over this coming winter. And the reason for that is because they were gonna start dredging and stuff this summer, but because of the road limits, hauling limits on our city streets, we have 5-ton roads. In order for them to haul all that material out of there, they'd like to use, 10-ton trucks. Well, if they have to restrict it to 5-ton trucks, and gas prices what they are, it's gonna be a lot more expensive to remove that stuff. And so, and not only that, what would have to be added to the project is repairing our roads, because if we allowed them to take 10-ton trucks over a 5-ton road, our roads would be a mess. So we'd have to reconstruct that road. We don't want to go through that. We're at expense to this whole project. Obviously, we wouldn't have to pay for it, but reconstructing roads would be a headache for us.
But this got delayed a year because of the grant that we applied for.
Well, it got delayed because of that. It got delayed because looking into the best way to move Pelican Peak, that's still, work in process too. But the latest delay, because they were still going to dredge this summer, this spring. But because our call was, and not council, but our call was, we don't want busted up streets that have to be repaired. It adds cost for them, it adds headache for us. So we said, there's no reason to pull it out now. Let's wait till this winter when we can do it without breaking up our roads.
Okay. Okay, thank you. That brings us to item number 17, closed meeting regarding pending litigation, City of Pelican Rapids versus Travis McLeod and Public Employees Retirement Association of Minnesota, PERA. The agenda item is pending litigation, City of Pelican Rapids versus Travis McLeod and the Public Employees Retirement Association of Minnesota. Unfortunately, the meeting will be closed pursuant to Minnesota statute section 13D-.05 subdivision. The grounds for closing it are as follows. The city's need for absolute confidentiality outweighs the purposes served by the open meeting law in this case based on the following absolute confidentiality. So that the city council and legal counsel can have a candid and open discussion to determine the available legal options to handle the litigation, including response strategy and possible areas of reconciliation. The purpose of the closed meeting is not to make a decision behind closed doors, but instead the purpose of the meeting is to determine the legal options for handling the litigation. The only business to be discussed is the pending litigation. An open session would be detrimental because it may take place in the presence of individuals involved in the litigation. The closed session would benefit the public because the ultimate outcome of the litigation may impact the finances of the city. I will now entertain a motion to close this portion of the meeting.
So moved. Second.
Motion second. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same. Motion carried. The time is now 6:13 p.m. The city council will now go into a closed session. Only the city council and authorized city representatives may be in attendance at any portion of the closed session.